My life has imploded. Husband 29 male slept with my mom 55 female right before we got married 2 years ago. Original post. He confessed it to me yesterday out of guilt. The details are that he was extremely drunk on his bachelor party nights, which I knew had happened. He doesn't drink often and overdid it. Said the next morning that he didn't remember anything after a certain point. I thought nothing of it. Looking back, I can see how he was acting pretty off, which I assumed at the time was wedding jitters. Now he's told me he did remember coming home that night, which was when my mom, staying with us that week for the wedding, came on to him. He went along with it to the point of ending up hooking up with her in her bed. In fact, he passed out on her bed and was there the whole night. My bachelorette party was the same night, and I came home around 3 a.m. to see he wasn't in our bed. I texted him but assumed he had crashed with a friend, as he'd said he might do that if things got crazy. But he was actually with my mother, right in the room next freaking door. The next morning, he quietly slipped out while I was still asleep, then opened the door pretending he'd just come home after sleeping off the drunkenness at his friend's. He got into bed with me and told me that lie. As if that wasn't enough, he also initiated intimacy soon after, when he had been banging my mother mere hours before. We got married the very next day. Damn everything. I literally cannot believe this. My mother has a history of trying to flirt with guys I've dated and being inappropriate. Not this bad, but still. My husband knew this. We laughed about it, and he reassured me he would never in a million years think she was attractive. I called her last night. Just said, husband told me everything. She spent several minutes pretending not to know what I was talking about, then denying everything and saying he was making it up, then claiming she'd woken up to my husband forcing himself on her. The sheer audacity of the BS she's capable of is beyond any disgust I can properly convey. I eventually just ended a call. I could not stop crying. She refused to even admit the truth, let alone take any responsibility or apologize. I'm not even worth basic honesty in my own mother's eyes. I'm not even worth a half-baked I'm sorry to her. The person is supposed to love you no matter what. And does she also think I'm stupid? Why keep lying to someone who knows you're lying, unless you actually think they'd fall for your crap? Today I can't cry at all. Everything feels unreal. I'm completely lost and almost feel like I dreamed this or something. I've lost the 2 most important people in my life because they decided that I wasn't as important to them as having a quick hookup. Well, I hope it was the best 10 minutes of their lives. And sure, maybe my husband didn't come home that night with a planned intention of sleeping with her. He probably didn't, and it was just horrible judgment from over-drinking. That doesn't change the fact he and my mom had done it. No one should be able to say that about their spouse. How's that normal? I cannot imagine remaining in a marriage where my spouse has banged my mom, literally 2 nights before our wedding. There's simply no coming back from that, right? No, I will never get over or forgive it. I feel absolutely revolted that for the last 2 years, they've been at family visits together acting more or less normal, with me right there like a stupid clueless fool. There's probably much more I'm forgetting, but maybe it doesn't even matter. I'm just done. My life is gone and I have no idea where I will be next week, let alone next year. We were going to be together for the rest of our lives. Now it's gone. Just like that, I have nothing. What can I do now? How do I possibly explain to the rest of my family why we're divorcing? I am so freaking humiliated. Now for the top advice before reading the update. Okay, so if your mother were telling the truth about him forcing himself on her, why would she be okay with her daughter marrying an offender? My brain cannot compute the awfulness of it all. You deserve better than both of them. Don't be embarrassed. They should both be ashamed, especially your mother. Either the mom's an offender or the husband is. With all the details provided here, it sounds like the mom is. But of course, so many think he's a cheating scumbag. She took advantage of him being drunk. Mom has a history flirting and being inappropriate with Opie's past boyfriends. That's true. The mother absolutely did force herself on him. But instead of telling his wife everything as soon as he realized it happened, he chose not to. He kept up the lie by mission for 2 years. He's not innocent either. Tell everyone the truth. Burn them down. She's got to get ahead of this before the mom pulls some BS and tries to paint herself as the victim. Opie needs to cut all contact with her awful mother, and she needs to tell her family the whole story so they don't try and force her to reconnect. Opie, I'm so sorry. First of all, you don't have to explain to the family if you don't want to. You could say something like it's not working out and we have decided to separate and are not comfortable discussing more. On the other hand, you could just say the truth because if your mom has decided to lie and accuse your husband of raping her, when she knows that is not the truth, mainly due to the fact that she has done that in the past. She could very well lie about why you stopped talking to her, paint you in a bad light, which brings me to my next point. I think you should cut contact with your mother, at least for now. I know the truth epically sucks, but other people should be warned about this, especially if Opie has other siblings. Either the mom or the soon-to-be ex-husband is an offender. If this isn't aired out, it could happen again to someone else. And now for the update. My actual update will be brief, but I first want to thoroughly address what you guys said on my first post. I read every single comment. I guess skip to the bottom if you just want to know the update. Most of you were pointing out that it sounded like my husband was too drunk to consent, meaning she violated him. When I spoke to him again after reading all of that, I asked him carefully if he felt that she took advantage of his drunkenness. There was a long pause. He sighed and gave me this look that was just full of guilt and sadness, and then basically said no, that it would be easy to go with the out I was giving him, but that I deserved the full truth. He then proceeded to tell me that before that night, they had been ex-thing for several months. He had not told me this the first time he confessed. He went on to tell me more, explaining that he left this out because the biggest issue was the actual cheating, and he hadn't wanted to hurt me by giving all the lead-up details. He only gave them this time out of some remaining sense of honor, I guess. He said it'd be even more of a coward if he misleads me to think it was without consent. So I guess he's not as much of a liar as he could be. Don't know how to feel about that. Anyway, they had been exting, including exchanging nudes, for a few months before the wedding. Now, I had known they texted sometimes. They always had a friendly relationship. I hadn't ever suspected anything weird. Like I said in the first post, he'd been adamant that he'd never think of her that way. I trusted him. He can't explain why they started texting beyond he got caught up in the thrill of doing something forbidden. There were implications made about wanting to do things in real life as a one-night thing, should the opportunity even arise. Disgusting. So fast forward to our bachelor/bachelorette party's night. The texting between him and her was going on while he was out that night. So what I said in my first post about how he probably didn't come home intending to sleep with her? Yep, that was wrong. He did. In fact, him telling me he was going to stay overnight with his friend if he got too drunk was all part of the setup. He knew I'd be out very late at a show. He had the presence of mind to arrange a way to leave his party earlier in the night, go home, sleep with my mother, and already have given me a plausible explanation for appearing not to be home when he got back at 3 a.m., so that he could spend that one night with her. It was just that important to him to have the full experience of falling asleep after the deed and waking up next to each other. He reiterated that he had been aware the whole time of what he was doing. He was not as drunk as he'd made it seem the next morning when he claimed not to remember anything that happened. I think that tripped people up in my first post into thinking he was incapacitated. I thought I'd been clear that he had admitted during his first confession that it was an act he put on to me at the time to cover up his cheating, which he then explained he actually had remembered everything the next morning. So just to be clear again, while he did get drunk, at no point did he black out or become totally wasted to the point he was incapable of controlling his decisions and body. He doesn't know if she was drunk too or relatively sober. She had mentioned she was drinking when he was out at his party, but he doesn't know how much. He said since that night, he hadn't texted her at all except about logistical details of visits, and one text he sent her the day after. In that one, he said it would never happen again, and she'd lose me if I knew, correct, so she better never let it slip. She agreed. He claims everything between them since then has been a normal mother-in-law relationship. Do I believe that? Doesn't matter. He lied for 2 years and then lied by omission in his first confession about the months-long build-up to the affair. During that time, I was bonding with my mother over wedding planning. She even brought me dress shopping. It's freaking sick. I'd be misplaced to not acknowledge his integrity around the R thing. He told me it'd be easy to run with that in order to keep me, and said if that's how it happened, I would stay with him. But that had already betrayed me. He wouldn't be able to live with himself if he made a false claim about something so serious instead of taking responsibility. Well, that is the only part I respect him for. As for my mom, nothing. Not a word from her since this weekend. Fine by me. I never want to see or hear from her again. It's almost like she died. I don't have a mother anymore. Some of you ask about my father. He died of health issues in 2010, and my mom had a revolving door of men when I was a teen, but no real relationships. So I don't have a dad or a stepdad either. I'm also an only child. I have friends and some other family, but just did not have the energy yet to tell them about any of this. Last thing, some people thought my post was made up because I hadn't replied to any comments. That was because I was so exhausted I just passed out right after posting it. When I woke up, it was locked and I couldn't reply. And now for the actual update. I'm proceeding with divorce and have gotten in touch with an attorney. I've kicked him out of the house and I think he's gone to his parents for the time being. Not looking forward to a legal battle whatsoever, but there's no possible way to remain married after this mess. To this day, he doesn't know why he did it. I have my own suspicions based on things he said in the past about wishing he'd had more romantic partners before me, because he felt like he had missed out on his youth. Maybe that was my clue that it wasn't enough for him. Should have listened, but let him and some friends talk me to believing I must be, or he wouldn't be with me. And that all guys have regrets like that and sacrifice them for the right woman. Clearly that wasn't me. He also struggles with overuse of adult movies sometimes. Stepmom is his favorite genre. It never struck me as anything other than a dumb porn thing. Whatever. I won't be dating for a long time because obviously I'm colorblind to red flags. Whoa. That's completely messed up. So sorry you have to deal with all this. It is messed up. To this day, he doesn't know why he did it. That's a lie. He planned it out in detail. He knows why he did it even if he won't admit it. Also, I seriously doubt he admitted to this out of guilt. He just wants out of the marriage and this was the easiest way to get that. I wouldn't be surprised if he is fooling around behind her back with someone. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if he is lying about cutting off the mom. I've had friends that did crazy stuff for their bachelor party. Normal crazy stuff like strippers, hookers, and blow. And if some of it came out, it might end their marriage. Decades later, no one has ever said a word. It happened, it's not happening ever again. Code of silence. I don't blame anyone for thinking that sort of thing is stupid and crappy. But at the same time, to me, it's worse to go years into a marriage with someone and then admit to something like that to assuage your own guilt. Own that guilt and live with the shame. Be a better person if you really want to do right by your partner. This guilt thing is just an excuse to bail. I'd be misplaced to not acknowledge his integrity around the R thing. He told me it'd be easy to run with that in order to keep me. I said if that's how it happened, I would stay with him. But that he'd already betrayed me. He wouldn't be able to live with himself if he made a false accusation about something so serious instead of taking responsibility. Well, that is the only part I respect him for. Also, don't fall for this OP. He wants out. That's the reason why he isn't playing this angle. If you had caught him and he wanted to stay, he would throw mom under the bus, no problem. This is just a way for him to keep some sort of control over you. Make you think he isn't as bad as he seems. He is that bad. Take him to the cleaners in a divorce. No holds barred. Oh God. Please don't try to normalize being able to do things like that, knowing it'll ruin the relationship if it came out, then keeping it a secret. If they don't want their partners knowing it, then they shouldn't be doing it. I'm proceeding with divorce and have gotten in touch with an attorney. I've kicked him out of the house. Good. Yes. Affirm. Absolutely yes. Cut these people out of your life like the cancerous tumors they are and go no contact forever. My God. Invest in you. Please get therapy for the trauma that has been inflicted on you by this terrible betrayal. He is a POS, and your mom is no mother. She's a trashy female bi parent, nothing more. Unbelievable to do this to your own daughter. Strength and healing to you, OP. Thank you. Finding someone for therapy is on my to-do list before the end of the week. Excellent. A good therapist with expertise in trauma recovery can really help. I'm really sorry for you. You're making the right decision. I'm sending you a lot of strength and a big hug. Thank you. I appreciate the affirmation. It's really hard. Don't hesitate to use the "I'll tell everyone what you did" to your advantage in divorce proceedings. How disgusting. Now for the last story. Apparently my husband's family thinks I'm scared on purpose. I, 24 female, husband 30 male, lost my baby last week. And now I also have to worry about the fact that my husband's family thinks I did it on purpose. A little bit of backstory. I've been in the US for 5 years, but I'm not from here. Different skin color, foreign accent. I'm not a daughter/sister-in-law they expected, which his mom and sister have voiced before. In front of me. Hubby told them to stop and things got somewhat better, although his sister still makes weird comments at times. She invited us over to her place and then had the nerve to say in front of everybody that my miscarriage is not that big of a deal since I did it on purpose, and that it's not like I wanted a baby anyway, which is not true. I said to her once during our first year of being married that I felt that we didn't need to rush into getting pregnant, and she took it and turned it into me not wanting babies. And now over a year later she threw that in my face. When hubby tried to tell her to stop, but his mom joined in and said that his sister was right, that I probably did it on purpose. Like what? My husband stood up for me, and when he realized his mom was in on it too, he grabbed me and we left, which I'm grateful for, but he now wants me to let them come over and apologize. But I never want to see them again. I know that's unrealistic though, so how do I look at them, have them at my house, without wanting to throw something in their faces and tell them how I really feel? Mother-in-law and sister-in-law are definitely terrible people. Their apology will not come from their heart, but from the tongue just to save face with your husband. Keep these people at a distance from now on. I want to never see them again. Unfortunately, there is family, and I know that he wants us to just get along or at least be civil. I'd been civil this whole time though. I don't think I've ever done anything to deserve this. Sure, you can be civil and at the same time keep your distance, so they don't have another opportunity to hurt you with cruel words. So sorry for your miscarriage, and to think the words came from women. They sounded really sorry for us when his sister invited us to come over and have supper to take our minds off the situation. I fell for it like a dummy. I'm so stupid for thinking they would be capable of feeling bad for me and help me grieve. Just tell him you aren't ready to see them to hear an apology and you'll let him know when you are. I have. He's convinced that we should get it all settled as soon as possible because we're a family. But it's so obvious they don't see me as a part of their family.